Hello traders, Rich here and welcome to Bitcoin in a Minute, day 101. As usual, if you liked this series, let me know in the comments or simply leave a like. So let's get started. As we clearly see, Bitcoin has been overall bearish for a while, starting from the end of 2021, trading inside this big wedge pattern. So from a technical perspective, for the bulls to take over, we need to see a break above the wedge pattern. In this case, would have a shift in momentum from bearish to bullish. But until then, we would be bearish, especially after breaking below the 18k, which has been holding for a while, like in a range for a couple of months. And now we are still in a range, but it's a falling one. And the reason why I'm mentioning this now is because usually after a big impulse movement downward or upward, if we have a rising correction, in case of a bearish movement, it would be a continuation correction. But if we have a falling correction, it would be a reversal correction, and vice versa. If we have a falling correction here, it would be a continuation, vice versa. Rising correction, it would be a reversal. Let me give you some examples which are quite working well for Bitcoin in this weekly chart. For example, here you've got a big impulse movement, a falling correction, followed by a big impulse movement, so a continuation, and then a rising correction, followed by a reversal, and then what? A falling correction, followed by an impulse, and then what? A falling correction, just like this, which is what? An impulse movement, a continuation movement, and then a rising correction, which means what? A reversal, right? A rising correction, a reversal, and here we are now with a falling correction, right? So this price action here is very similar to this one right here, a falling one, and the falling, but in this case it were bullish, so continuation, right? Anyway, let's focus on the current price action, but I'd like to give you this example because it is working quite well for Bitcoin, right? So impulse, falling, continuation, rising, reversal, right? Impulse, falling, reversal. So now, of course, for this like to play out just like this one, we will need to see a breakout above the zone. Okay, so in this case would need to see this one, and like it's still in the making, so we can still have like one more bearish movement like this in this channel before we finally break it upward. But you've got the idea. So the next demand zone would be also this support area, which you can clearly see multiple rejections from this zone, and it's the start of this bull run, right? So previously, if you zoom into this bullish movement, these are the zones that we could highlight. First, we have this zone, which price previously respected, and then we had this zone because like this is where the price paused here, here, and here, right? So first, this one was respected right there, and we made a slight higher high before we trade lower. This one here was respected for a long period of time, but it was a range. And as I mentioned previously, if you remember, I don't really like how it's making lower highs, and I've been stuck here for a long period of time because it would mean it's a build-up, right, before we see the breakout. Because if we would have not enough buying pressure here, we'll be able to trade higher, just like previously. Okay, and anyway, also this one, which hasn't been tested yet, so it's still fresh, lining up with around number 10k, also previously a resistance, multiple rejections from the zone. And yeah, this is an entire zone, so starting from here, starting from like 13.5 to 14k, this entire zone, but preferably the more we dive inside the zone, the better. So my speculation is we are waiting for the boost to kick in. Of course, this is weekly time frame. I'll zoom in zoom in a bit, but like I'd like to take my time today because like it's the 101 right episode in this series. So of course, like I zoom into our time frames in a bit, but for now, if we have this break, it would mean that yeah, the buyers are stronger than ever, and we'll be speculating a short-term, first of all, bullish movement till the 30k, which is our next resistance, also a supply zone. Meanwhile, we would be bearish, and we can still trade lower and lower, especially like what's happening in the world now and in the crypto in a specific manner. But as I mentioned, we are bearish inside this falling channel, so we might trade higher as a correction before trading lower and so on. So we are forming this big movement downward before the bulls take over again. But we can't really know for how long this one would last before we finally see the reversal. So let's take it step by step. And from a long-term perspective, this is what I would like to see. right? Which I showed you from weekly time frame. Meanwhile, if you break below this low, we would have a overextended impulse movement, because for now we have an impulse, a flat correction, another impulse movement would be have this. In this case, we reach this low, or we might treat like this as a flat correction, just as like here for a couple of weeks before we go lower one more time, and then we break this zone upwards. Okay, so these are the two possible scenarios from a long-term perspective from daily time frame. From weekly, we broke below the 18K last week. We created a classic retest to it, traded lower but failed to make a low, instead made a slight higher low, or like for some like we can consider it as a double bottom for the bears to remain in control and keep pushing lower. We need to see a break below it. In this case, we'll be expecting this bearish movement till this lower zone, as I showed you from daily. Meanwhile, we are here and we might see a flat correction. I don't know why I don't see these trend lines from H4. They should appear there. Great. So if we break it down, then price would invalidate this whole like scenario, this lower trend line, and so on. Will be trading lower. For now, we would be seeing this like kind of correction. While we're trading higher, we might see reversal here. We might find a resistance zone here. You can see multiple rejections from previously, and if we break it, break back inside it, we'll be facing this supply, which was the cause of this massive movement damage, which is a massive zone, 20K supply zone, lining up with the upper trend line. But first, for us to be able to reach this high, we need to see an aggressive break above this 18,500, which is this supply zone as well, and the upper bound of the support zone. From a shorter term perspective, if you go to H1 time frame, we are now slightly bullish. We've got this minor supply resistance. If broken higher, we'll be able to see this impulse till around the 18K, and then here we might see this movement and then trade lower, or we might trade higher, break aggressively above it. In this case, we'll be seeing this movement. Okay. So that is basically it for now from a short-term perspective, because like we started from weekly, daily, H1, and now we are here on H1 after like 7 minutes. So if you break it higher, as I mentioned, we'll be expecting this move, and then this would be a massive resistance lining up with many confluences. And then we'll of course, like I can't really cover every possible scenario, especially on lower time frames now, but we might see this and then break lower to go lower, and then here we'll be seeing if we'll get a break or a reversal to break it back above this one, and so on. So like you already know what to look for, all the levels. Meanwhile, waiting for this, or if we break lower below this low and the trend line, then we'll be going down from here till the support again, unless we break it down with, and so on. So that's basically it for Bitcoin. Best of luck, and I will see you tomorrow.